Although flies, of course, have always been a part of hog operations, producers now have more reason to worry about fly control, as new research confirms even a few flies have the ability to infect pigs with PEDV, which can be devastating for herds. Joining us now is veterinarian at the Walcott, Iowa Veterinary Clinic, Dr. Grant Allison. Dr. Allison, thanks for joining us today. First of all, give us just a bit of background on your study, if you would.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Janet. Well, we know that PED virus entered the country in 2013, and it also entered our practice area in that same year. Since then, it's gone away to the most part until, here recently it's come back again. So after 30 years of practice, you think you know it all, but of course you don't. And so we started seeing cases that didn't really quite fit what we thought would be a normal route of entry of the virus. And so starting in May of last year, we started looking into what would be another route of entry into the farms to try and explain some of the cases that we were seeing. And we centered on flies, I guess, is the long story short.
And how were you able to center in on flies? And I also have to ask about other insects, of course, that we often see on farms.
Well, we looked at, what was documented in the literature, and, in 2013-14, there was a lot of mentions about airborne transmission, about flies, but like everyone else, you do a Google search and you don't find any proof of that. So we look at flies as a common insect in a hog barn, and we look at their life cycle and how they replicate in manure and organic debris. And so we thought that since PEDV is shed in feces, and of course they go into the environment that flies replicate in, that they might be the source. So that's kind of how we centered on that. Is it's just too obvious, but yet unexplored.
It does make sense. Now, what options are available as far as a comprehensive control method?
Comprehensive control, I think, is kind of an all-or-nothing approach. If you look at some of the concentrations of virus we've found in flies or even in gnats, it's an extreme amount of virus in a real small animal, of course. So you have to control flies as if you mean it. And so what we're looking at is an in-feed larvicide. We'd want to get ahead of that life cycle. So that would be, a 30-day window to break that life cycle. So that would be kind of step one. And then everything that's above the pit, you'd have to come up with, a sprayer, a fogger, plus or minus some bait to control what's already hatched out and above the slats, and total control the population as best you can.
All right. Well, Dr. Allison, thank you very much for joining us again. Talking about Dr. Grant Allison with the Walcott, Iowa Veterinary Clinic, joining us on the phone, of course, from Iowa this morning.